Join us as we explore how astrology can help us live an inspired life. The unique signature of one's natal chart is like a sheet of music, which can evoke inspiration or tension depending on how we bring it to life. The planetary sounds inherent in one's cosmic signature can help support awakening into one's destiny and purpose. When we're in harmony with ourselves, not only are we happier and healthier in our own lives, we also help heal the collective. Now, here's your host, Jennifer Gehl.
Welcome to Cosmic Harmony. I'm your host, Jennifer Gehl. This show is brought to you by syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network, media partner to the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. A big thanks to my sponsor, the Yazoo Group. Let the Yazoo Group promote your unique spiritual or holistic business today. Call Angie at 814-312-8876 and mention my show for a discount. Well, on this show, I provide astrological insight and sound healing to support those who find themselves undergoing challenge and change in their lives. Today we'll be discussing a new cycle that affects all of us and certainly instigates change. On Tuesday, May 15th, we had a new moon in Taurus, as well as the planet Uranus moving into Taurus for the first time in 84 years. What does this mean exactly? Well, new moons are when the sun and moon are conjunct. They're side by side, and together initiate a new cycle of growth between our conscious will and purpose, represented by the sun, and our unconscious emotional needs, represented by the moon. The planet Uranus is the game changer of the zodiac. It's the wild card and systems buster. It takes 7 to 8 years to move through a sign, and for the last 7 to 8 years, it's been transiting Aries. This has been felt in the collective and by many of us as a need within to liberate the pioneer. To liberate the pioneer within, in other words. There was an attitude being expressed collectively that was something along the lines of, I need to be free to be me. Now in Taurus, Uranus brings change to the area of life that pertains to our acquisitive nature and our value systems. This could feel, instead of I need to be free to be me, it's I need to be free financially. Taurus likes to build and accrue those things that it values. Because it's fixed earth, it likes to pull in material resources, which can be financial, but they can also be environmental, and for the purpose of that is, for the purpose of feeling secure. Because Taurus rules security, it also pertains to our self-esteem, that which makes us feel secure. And let's face it, change does not exactly instill a feeling of security in most of us human beings. But there does come a time when status quo no longer serves our higher purpose or the collective needs. And thus, Uranus comes along to bust the system that is no longer working. And Uranus also rules groups. So it wants what is best for the masses rather than for the few. Now, the main dissonance between Taurian values and Uranus is that Taurus likes to build and Uranus likes to shake up, to throw curveballs. Whether it's watching things grow in the garden, in real estate, or in bank accounts, these themes are related to Taurus. So with this transit, we will no doubt see some events occur that cause us to reevaluate what we have been building for ourselves, both individually and collectively. Our global value system has historically favored corporations over the environment, and I believe we can expect to see this change. One can hope, at least. And Uranus also rules everything from humanitarian efforts to sci-fi futuristic progress and innovation. So we will certainly see some long-standing systemic trends designed to serve the few be subject to change for the greater good of humanity, as well as change that favors more earth-friendly solutions. So not to throw too much information at you, but I also need to bring up a planet I've talked about before, and actually my guest today, John Grove, was with me in November when we spoke about the planet Sedna. And we will be bringing her energy in again today because Uranus for the last, Uranus, while it was transiting Aries, activated Sedna in the charts of those born before 1968. And now that it's in Taurus, it's awakening Sedna in the charts of those born after 1968. In my upcoming book, The Return of Planet Sedna, Astrology, Healing, and the Awakening of Cosmic Kundalini, I discuss Sedna's message regarding the Earth and the environment, and how it relates to turning inward, cultivating the inner path as a way to infinite abundance, rather than constantly looking outward to build buildings and things and material things. It's more about spiritual renewal. So my book will be out in the early part of 2019, and my guest today, John Grove, will, he contributed to insights on Sedna, and I'm going to let him explain to you more about the astrology that he practices. It's called aspect pattern astrology. So I'm just delighted to have him back. He is a psychotherapist as well as an astrologer, and so John is in the studio with me, and I'm happy to introduce him to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here. We're going to discuss Sedna, but also some of the new events with Uranus going into Taurus that happened on May 15th at the new moon.
Yes, and John is also going to be discussing his own book, Life Passages, and the correlation between astrological cycles and dreams. So welcome back to Cosmic Harmony. You said that you noticed some things in Sedna's chart about aspect pattern, or what did you call the point progression? I'll let you explain it.
In Life Passages, what I have done is studied the progression of a point around the cycle of the horoscope, in which it makes a change every 6 years from one house to another. And what happens is that in every time that a person is following this age point in his or her horoscope, there are life crises or psychological events that happen in each house as a result of this passage of the age point. And one of the things that we look at and I'm really interested in, is how your dreams at certain times when you're having these psychological crises where the age point is tipping off an issue, that actually it's interpreted the dream in the context of the psychological crisis that you're going through, so that enables us to be a little more accurate in pinpointing the meaning. But for the purposes today, we're going to be talking about aspect patterns and the H point. And what happens with the H point is that it acts like a planet, and it aspects certain kinds of triangular or rectangular or linear kinds of patterns in your existing chart based on your birth time, and it then amplifies the issues that are going on in that aspect pattern. And aspect pattern astrology, which is really a Huber method, it has to do with identifying unconscious motivation in the individual. So that is where,
that's where dreams come in then.
That's where dreams come in, but that's also what is highlighted in terms of the psychological crises that people experience. Just to give you a couple examples, when we look at Sedna, she's right now at the age of 14 from the time that she was born. And the psychological crisis that she's going through or going to go through is an identity crisis. So it just so happens that it's very coincidental and very synchronistic that Jennifer's book on Sedna is going to be published as she's going through this identity crisis. In other words, she's coming from the unconscious world of the subterranean into being highlighted and brought to consciousness in the collective. That's what identity crisis is all about. She's going to have to get used to it.
That is so interesting. And I remember you talking specifically about the environment, too, with regard to Sedna's age point progression. And I want to make it clear to listeners that the planet itself is not 14 years old. We're talking about when the planet was discovered and brought into the awareness of the collective. And that happened on November 13, 2003. Yeah. Anyway, that's in my November show. And there's so many interesting connections, patterns, archetypal lessons in the Sedna Discovery Chart, which will be addressed in the book. But getting back to this, so the age point progression for Sedna is 14 years, and as John said, that brings with it this identity development or identity crisis. And specifically, do you remember how that pointed to her relationship with the environment and environmental changes?
Well, the age point is in the third house, which has to do with the environment that is close by, and also learning that it is more or less concrete learning. And the environment, in terms of the Gaia principle, I really can't comment on, but this energy coming through in the third house, she's going to communicate to common people what she's about in terms of her mythology and also what she has to teach us. And we see this in the Me Too movement, which is actually affecting the collective psyche of males and females in our society. If we remember that she was discriminated against, Sedna, in the mythology because she was a female. And what happens is that she was wounded. But as we also know, that as she becomes to come out of the subterranean area of the underwater where the mythology says she resides, she's going to become aware, we're going to become conscious of her. Yeah. And as we become conscious of her, she's going to stimulate certain kinds of harmony between the sexes. Yeah. Because that's one of her jobs. It is. It is to bring balance, not only ecologically, but also in terms of relationships between men and women, because that's one of the reasons that she was cut off from the conscious world and put into the water, was because she tried to get back into the boat, the mythology says, and her fingers were cut off, and she lost the ability to grasp onto the boat and went down into the sea. That's the mythology. So she's coming up now, and we're becoming aware of her, and she's manifesting already in terms of changing some of the ways that men and women relate. Sexual harassment policies are becoming much more common in institutional life, in group settings, where women are not going to be discriminated against, and also the glass ceiling issue, where women cannot be promoted above a certain level. That's also being addressed. So she's bringing all these things out.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about this too, because I was just talking about how Uranus is in Taurus, will be changing our value system, and how appropriate this is for Sedna's mythology to come into the conscious awareness of the collective, because her values do pertain to the inner journey. So traditionally, we have experienced Taurus as building the property, using our environment to build buildings, let's say, and that is the show of material success. And Sedna is, as the ultra yin, ultra water archetype, I perceive her really as a culmination or a combination of the shamanic rite of passage that each one of the water signs has to go through. We see a Cancer theme having to do with leaving the family tribe and having to grow up very quickly. We see the Scorpio theme in the volatile or violent death that she encountered at the hands of her father and the betrayal in the intimate relationship. But that death, Scorpio, ultimately led to her immortal place as sea woman. Many say goddess. Technically, in the Inuit culture, they don't recognize gods and goddesses, but she's known as the immortal sea woman, Sedna. And then we see a Pisces theme within this Sedna myth as well, because here she is living in the sea and became the immortal sea woman, much like Poseidon. And she has been lost at sea for so long, but now she is resurfacing. So water has everything to do with the emotions and intuition. It also has to do with dreams. So it's so appropriate that we would be discussing John's book, Life Passages, which mirrors the reciprocity between dreams that individuals have as they correspond to the astrological cycles. And anything else you want to?
Well, the thing is that I do want to bring up that there is a collective field that is supposed to be tapped. Edgar Cayce called it the Akashic records. Akashic
yes.
records. That enables us to, through dreams interpretation, actually get in touch with different entities, like people who have passed before us, as well as acquire knowledge. And so the dreams become a mechanism for each one of us in which we can have a connection with the divine. And that is a very important and significant self-awareness that goes with this study, because we have a crisis, a spiritual crisis in America, and people, because of materialism and determinism, have felt that they are not connected to the cosmos, that they're not connected to a spiritual being. And dreams can help to facilitate this awareness and connection. That's why I study them. That's why I promote them, because I think everybody can become their own psychologist if they study their dreams. So in the book, I go into a great deal of discussion of how to record dreams and how to remember them, and as well as certain astrological initiatory rites and rituals based on certain transits of planets that will bring about crises at first, because initiation rituals do, but then ultimately healing that enables a person to grow psychologically. So that's part of it too. A lot of the times the dreams reflect that psychological process.
Yeah, I love that. And dreams also are the realm of Pisces and Neptune, so yet another water correlation. Something else you said, I love the idea, and this is totally shamanic, that everyone is indeed offered the ability to become their own master. You know, instead of having the world and the world's system master us, it's up to us to go through the shamanic rite of passage that I believe Sedna is guiding us into, and certainly the realm of emotion and intuition and dreams, to receive the guidance that we need. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, and in honoring all sentient life on this planet and throughout the cosmos, it is about honoring our planet and honoring the earth and finding ways to move into the future that are eco-friendly and earth-friendly. But we also have to remember, and this is definitely part of her message, that there are many, many more beings in the cosmos, and we are cosmic neighbors, and I think that it's important for us to remember our place as earth beings, that we don't just have a responsibility to ourselves as individuals and to the planet, but actually to the greater whole. There is always a greater whole, just like there is infinite access to information when we embark on that inner journey.
And in the book, I give 6 examples of dreams from 6 different people, volunteers. And they're different categories of dreams that each one represents. One is a precognitive dream of a woman who was able to notice that she was going to have an operation, but she was going to be healed.
Okay, this is fantastic. So we have to go to break now, but let's pick up there. I want to talk some more about the examples you've got in your book, and then Sedna's age point progression. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Jennifer Gehl, host of Cosmic Harmony, charting your course for an inspired life. Did you know that the highest form of medicine is finding your destiny? Join us each Wednesday at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Time, where we empower individuals to awaken to their purpose through the language and harmonics of astrology. If you'd like to have your chart discussed on the show and listen to planetary blends unique to your signature, please email cosmicheharmonyradio@gmail.com.
Awaken your soul through the intuitive arts of intuition, meditation, mediumship, and soul expansion. May 25th to 28th, Omega presents The Intuitive Arts, an interactive gathering to enhance your everyday life with new awareness. Guided by tutors of the prestigious Arthur Findlay College in England, you discover aspects of the ordinary that are not so ordinary after all. To receive 20% off, use discount code DREAM when you register for The Intuitive Arts at Omega. Learn more at eomega.org.
Cosmic Harmony with Jennifer Gehl is on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Each Wednesday at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Time, we chart your course for an inspired life through the language and harmonics of astrology. If you'd like to have your chart discussed on the show and listen to planetary blends unique to your signature, please email cosmicheharmonyradio@gmail.com. For more information on Jennifer's work and her new book with Dr. Mark McCosey, The Science of Planetary Signatures and Medicine, visit soundworksbygehl.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. For 40 years, Omega has been a gathering place for great thinkers, creative talent, spiritual teachers, and social visionaries. With 390 workshops to choose from, Omega offers something for everyone. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Welcome back to Cosmic Harmony. I'm your host, Jennifer Gehl. As one who combines astrology with sound, my goal is to help you align with the highest vision you have for yourself by using sound to transform patterns of self-sabotage into patterns that validate who you truly are and intend to be. When conscious intention is combined with sound, obstacles are removed and new matrices of harmony and ease are created. The cycles of the universe that impact your cosmic signature are no accident. They arise from divine design and infinite intelligence. And sound is the fastest way I know to transform old and outworn patterns of fear into patterns of success that help us relax and trust in this process. Before we went to break, we were talking about the Akashic records and the dream world. And so John had just started talking about some examples from his book, Life Passages, where volunteers shared some examples of these experiences.
Right. And the thing is that we are talking about, in the first example, a woman who was going through an operation in which they were going to restructure a nerve that was impinging upon her clavicle and causing her a lot of pain. And she the age point at the same time was going through the 9th house, and she was having a crisis of meaning, worrying about whether she was going to be able to, have a recovery. Well, she had a dream in which she was paralyzed after she had this operation. But then she, in the same dream, had the experience of having the feeling come back in her hand after this operation. So she was going into this operation, this was before she had the operation, with some degree of angst with regards to how it was going to turn out. But she was also somewhat comforted by the fact that the dream had a good outcome. So that's one category. It was a precognitive dream, and she was going through a crisis of meaning. So that whole experience helped to enhance her sense of connection to the cosmos, which is a philosophical kind of gain for her that she hadn't had before. So that's how these relationships work. In some of the other examples, this is by an 18-year-old kid who was ready to leave home. At 18, what happens is we're ready to move on and leave the nest. And the age point was in the 4th house at that time when he had this dream, where he dreamed that he was in the water and he perceived a whole herd of stags going across the water in just, beautiful harmony and balance. And it was led by a golden stag.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, the age point was in the 4th house. It was opposed to his planet, the sun, which was in the 10th house. And so he began to interpret the dream as an empowering experience in leaving home, that he would have the forces of nature and even supernatural forces accompanying him on his journey, because leaving home a lot of times creates a lot of crises. That's when a lot of schizophrenia happens. So he was comforted by that. And
that is beautiful.
So there are like 4 other examples of these different kinds of dreams happening at certain critical periods in people's lives.
I love that because the golden stag, to me, in my mind, represents the sun. Right. The golden orb, and something magical, and that, well, it's not magical, but it
has a certain, gold is like always been associated with the sun. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Well, alchemically, it does. I mean, in my first book, we talk about the alchemical correspondences and how the 7 metals correspond to the different planets. The original 7 planets in the solar system: lead is Saturn, Mercury is Mercury, copper is Venus. What was Jupiter? Jupiter is tin. What am I forgetting?
Mars. Mars.
Yeah.
Iron.
Oh, right. Mars is iron, and of course, the sun is gold.
So the age point was actually opposed the sun in this chart, which is in the 10th house, because the age point was in the 4th house. And that brings energy of the sun energy out, and the dream was reflecting that.
Yeah, that is just really...
Symbolically, it's
symbolic.
Alchemically, it's, transformative. And that's the kind of thing that people discover through this process. It's how, they're able to interpret what they're going through. Another woman was going through a period of survival in her life. She had had a child. She was having to take off work. Money was a problem. Her health, her daughter kept getting sick. This was like a difficult time. And she had a dream in which there were ghosts that came and entered into her home that weren't welcome. And she had to exorcise those ghosts, which represented threats to her survival. Mm-hmm. And so, we used the theme. The age point was in the 6th house, the house of health, the house of survival. Wow. It's on the survival axis between the 6th and the 12th. And we were able to interpret it as meaning that she will get through this time, that this is a time developmentally that she will have to persevere, but eventually, and work hard. Yeah. But, nothing's going to happen of a dire nature. Mm-hmm. So that's another example, but there are other examples in the book that I won't go into all of them right now. But
it's fascinating, though. It really is, because the language of astrology is the language of symbology. It really is the language of dreams, but it helps us dream consciously. It helps us be in relation, in a conscious, co-creative relationship with the cosmos, with that greater mind that, when I talk to clients or potential clients, I use all kinds of analogies to try to explain the way I perceive the astrology chart to come alive in our life. And I've used the music metaphor because Gehl said that geometry is frozen music, and so when we look at the natal chart, the snapshot of the sky at the time a person is born, it's a sheet of music, and it will come to life differently depending on whether or not it's a student or a master who is engaging it and giving it expression. And of course, we're not going to start out as masters unless we know that we've reincarnated. But most of us are just here doing the human curriculum, and we're working on cultivating that inner knowledge and inner mastery. So we can't change what these patterns are, and we can't change the transits as they come along and trigger different areas of our life. In aspect pattern astrology, the age point regression is the one we're discussing today, but there are so many other ones. For instance, the one I talked about in the introduction, Uranus's transit into Taurus. That's another activation of the Taurian energy in people's charts. Now, it's also going to, because it's in a fixed sign, it will also impact the other fixed signs, and they are Scorpio, opposite Taurus, and then Leo and Aquarius as well. So with my North Node in Leo, 2 degrees Leo, Uranus is squaring it now. And you, John, said that Uranus is conjunct your North Node. Maybe we can talk about that and a little bit, and how Uranus is activating those energies.
Yeah, well, to me, I think it's very significant that Uranus went into Taurus at the time of the new moon. That's when the moon and the sun are conjunct.
Yeah.
And it is also coincident with the beginning of Ramadan, the Islamic holiday month-long fasting, which they are on a lunar calendar, and they actually fast from new moon to new moon. Actually, the first slivers of the next moon are when they begin the fasting during the day, and then they are able to have dinners at night and drink. They're not allowed to smoke or drink or eat during the whole month. And to me, I started to do some interpretation of what this might mean for the Palestinians. As recently as just the other day, we opened an embassy in Jerusalem, and there were 55 or 58 Palestinians killed at that time by the Israelis. The thing that's so interesting is there are certain countries that are said to be ruled by Taurus. Iran is one of them. And if we look at some of the methods that Iran has been inserting itself with the Palestinians, it's through Hamas, which is a organization that they fund. Actually, it's a line item in their budget in Iran, and how we can maybe predict that there will be more support of the Palestinians and all throughout the Arab world as Uranus goes into Taurus, led by Iran, and that there will be maybe some hope, at least on one side, to giving the Palestinians some rights in terms of some land that they can call their home.
Well, let's hope so.
But that's a different take. Taurus also is an instinctive, sensual sign, and so I would never predict, because I don't use astrology to predict any events. But I would expect that the archetype of the sensual, instinctive side of people will be activated by Uranus. So there will be through the computers and sites. So I expect that there will be a proliferation of porn sites that will be accessed by people through this transit, and there will be sexual addiction. That will be a DSM, a diagnostic statistical manual diagnosis that we psychotherapists will have to deal with in the future, especially during its transit.
Okay.
So it's interesting, but I think that when we're talking about Uranus and Taurus and an aspect to natal positions, we get energized by the squares and the oppositions.
Yeah. Now, we just have a minute left, so we'll probably have to break and then go into the North Node in the next segment. But I did want to talk about that because Uranus right now is squaring my North Node, and it's conjunct yours, and I know that you are really busy. So maybe we can just touch upon that.
Overwhelmed is more like
Overwhelmed.
it. Yeah, because the thing is that there are so many opportunities and so many demands and pressures that are coming externally right now that I have to put it into, I spend an hour a day on each one. There are about 3 different areas of my life that I'm busy. And I won't go into the details of that, but it has to do with managing time.
Okay. So, I've talked about the nodes of the moon, I know, in previous radio shows, but for listeners tuning in today for the first time, we'll get back to explaining the nodes after we have to take a short break here, but we will come back to this fascinating discussion on Uranus and how it's activating these points in our chart. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Cosmic Harmony with Jennifer Gehl is on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Each Wednesday at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Time, we chart your course for an inspired life through the language and harmonics of astrology. If you'd like to have your chart discussed on the show and listen to planetary blends unique to your signature, please email cosmicharmonyradio@gmail.com. For more information on Jennifer's work and her new book with Dr. Mark McCosey, The Science of Planetary Signatures and Medicine, visit soundworksbygehl.com.
Awaken your soul through the intuitive arts of intuition, meditation, mediumship, and soul expansion. May 25th to 28th, Omega presents The Intuitive Arts, an interactive gathering to enhance your everyday life with new awareness. Guided by tutors of the prestigious Arthur Findlay College in England, you discover aspects of the ordinary that are not so ordinary after all. To receive 20% off, use discount code DREAM when you register for The Intuitive Arts at Omega. Learn
Have
more
you
at
seen 1111?
eomega.org.
Do you wonder why certain numbers keep showing up in your life? 11, 111, 22, 33, 444, people all over the world are seeing 1111 and learning the language of universal communication. Subscribe to 1111 Magazine today. 1111mag.com. 1111 Magazine is a bi-monthly online publication that offers a rich multisensory experience. Engage with experts in topics of consciousness. Become enlightened, empowered, and energized, so you live a passionate and authentic life of conscious choices. 1111 Magazine, a daily staple for lifting the mindset, expanding the heart, and experiencing greater aliveness. 1111 Magazine. Order now at www.1111mag.com. 1111mag.com.
Hi, this is Jennifer Gehl, host of Cosmic Harmony, charting your course for an inspired life. Did you know that the highest form of medicine is finding your destiny? Join us each Wednesday at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Time, where we empower individuals to awaken to their purpose through the language and harmonics of astrology. If you'd like to have your chart discussed on the show and listen to planetary blends unique to your signature, please email cosmicheharmonyradio@gmail.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Welcome back to Cosmic Harmony. I'm your host, Jennifer Gehl. If you would like to learn more about the human-cosmic connection that we've been discussing on this show and every show from a scientific and spiritual point of view, I encourage you to pick up a copy of my book, The Science of Planetary Signatures in Medicine, Restoring the Cosmic Foundations of Healing. I wrote it with Mark S. McCosey, MD, and it's got a lot of information in there. You'll find this by going to my website at soundworksbygehl.com. That's Soundworks, BYGEHL.com. It's also on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and most online book sites. If you are an astrologer, musician, or sound healer and would like to reach Cosmic Harmony's audience, please email cosmicheharmonyradio@gmail.com. Before we get back to our discussion, if you would like more information about John Grove or his books, let me have you go ahead and tell listeners, John.
Yes, you can contact my book, Life Passages, is available on Amazon. However, lately somebody told me that they were out. So I'm going to you can contact me directly through my website. It's ASKLEPIOS. Asclepios Connection, no space.com, or contact me at grovej85@gmail.com to order a book.
Fantastic. I think it's so interesting, and I love the name. I actually wrote about this in my book as well. Asclepios is how I pronounce it, but he was the original physician, right?
He did dream work. And he would heal through dream work.
Well, now that is...
He had a temple in which people would come, and they would spend the night, and he would do interpretations of dreams.
I love that. So, perfect. I mean, when we're talking about the root word of medicine, I know I'm getting off track, but it has to do with meta, above, and medicine or meditation. It is about healing, is all about going within and getting, giving ourselves the time and the space, allowing that access to the Akashic records, to the greater mind to occur, allowing that dialogue and cultivating that dialogue. So, it's fascinating. I love that correlation. All right. So thank you.
When I read your book, that's one of the things that I knew connected us, because you had a great piece on that god Asclepios.
Yeah.
And so I knew that, there was a connection, because I've had this website for a long time, and I saw that dreams have the ability to help heal people. And that was one of the examples through the archaic tradition.
Right. Well, so getting back to astrology, again, I love this idea of connecting consciously dream work with astrology and the astrological cycles, because this is also what Carl Jung talked about in the collective unconscious, and how these archetypes are all part of us, or I should say part of all of us. And so getting back to our discussion, I do want to make sure I explain the nodes of the moon. So in your chart, listeners, the south node of the moon is the upside down horseshoe looking symbol, and it has to do with our past and past conditioning, things that we do really well and instinctually, but may also need to grow out of. There may be some things about our past that no longer serve our growth and soul's highest expression. That is represented by the exact opposite point called the north node. It does represent uncharted territory. So it may not always be easy for us to experience or express the energies of the north node, but challenges to the south node are our curriculum in this lifetime. Challenges to the south node represent our rites of passage, or the initiation process, if you will, toward really embracing and expressing the north node. So here we have, and I'm sure there are many more of you out there whose planets and points are being activated by Uranus moving into Taurus. I said before the break that it's squaring my north node and it's conjunct John's north node. So when you think about Uranus representing groups and humanitarian efforts, future progress, Uranus even rules sci-fi innovation, the internet, all these things. But it also is the planet that likes to be the systems buster. It likes to be the wild card or to throw curveballs at us. So there may be an unexpected change that happens. Can you speak more to? Did I leave anything else?
Well, just Uranus and Taurus. I mean, going on that level alone, we can expect, we're talking about the imbalance ecologically.
Yeah.
And actually Sedna's role in bringing out the awareness of this. There will be probably, and I don't make predictions, but there will be certain activations of electrical storms, lightning storms.
Maybe even earthquakes.
Earthquakes and volcanoes, as we see in Hawaii right now.
Sure.
To balance out and to bring man's awareness back to nurturing nature. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. Yeah. Now, the aspects of Uranus to sensitive points, like I do point out, it depends on what house that planet or sensitive point is in. I happen to have my north node, which is a symbol of growth, where areas where I have growth, conjunct Uranus in the 5th house, which is the house of creativity, self-expression, expressions directly of love. Mm-hmm. And those kinds of innervations and kind of energies. Here I'm going and speaking to a group of revolutionaries who are politically interested in holding the people in power accountable for political decisions that they make. Go. And I'm teaching it on conflict resolution to this group. So there's a group, Uranus, and there is also a growth area. This is a new thing that I haven't done before. I've done conflict resolution with couples in my psychotherapy since 1987, but now I'm taking it to, and I've worked with corporations in team building to help deal with conflict, but I have never done it with a political group. So this is very Uranian.
It is very
in 5th house.
Okay, so my north node is in the 9th house, and now I say, we might as well talk about the the elephant in the room, because anytime we ever talk about this planet, people laugh when John says Uranus, I say Uranus, and then there are other astrologers who say Uranus. So you're going to hear it all three different ways, listeners. I just wanted to clarify. So anyway, Taurus is in my 7th house. So Uranus in Taurus is in my, no, it's still in my 6th house. That's right, because it's early degree Taurus. So it is affecting my work life. 6th house is health, it's work, it's day-to-day activities.
Survival.
And yeah, oh yeah. And then my North Node is in the 9th house. Any insight there?
Well, I mean, the energy coming from your work can give you a deep sense of realization in terms of your philosophy of life, and contribute, as it has been, to a solidification and more crystallization of that philosophy of life, 9th house. And also, maybe you'll be traveling.
Well, that would be great. I'd love that.
Because that's another thing with 9th house, or contact with other people from foreign lands.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I love that, yeah. Well, this discussion has been so much fun, and the hour is going by rapidly. To wrap up our discussion, I'd really like to play some harmonic blends. For you listeners, I would invite you to simply hold the intention for collective healing and for trusting the process of change as it unfolds in your life, and as these planets, these archetypes, activate different areas of life and change for you. This first one I'm going to play is Uranus with Sedna, pertaining to the awakening within of those emotions and aspects that have been ignored, abandoned, or felt lost at sea in some way. So here is Uranus and Sedna to play for you with the intention of healing. The other blend that I would like to play for you is represented in the chart of the new moon that just happened on Tuesday, May 15th. There was an exact quincunx between Saturn at 8 degrees Capricorn and the North Node in Leo at 8 degrees. So I will use the Sun because it is the ruler of Leo, and then Saturn. And when I play this, the intention to hold, just a suggestion, is about building a new structure for heart-centered service and childlike trust. It's also to blend together the master within, represented by Saturn, which is actually found through childlike trust, Leo. That is my interpretation. So here is Saturn with the Sun. As we bring our session to a close, I want to thank John Grove, psychotherapist and astrologer, for being my guest today and for sharing his wisdom and all the information that I invite all of you to check out his book, Life Passages. As we close, please remember to trust the process of change and call upon those who can help you align with your highest purpose. If you like what you've heard today and would like to support Cosmic Harmony, please consider making a donation in any amount by visiting my website, soundworksbygehl.com, go to the Cosmic Harmony Radio tab and scroll down to the Donate button. If you'd like to reach our audience with your services or promotions, please email cosmicharmonyradio@gmail.com or call me at area code 770-712-6298. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in and being part of the Cosmic Harmony community. Thank you to my sponsor, the Yazoo Group. Let the Yazoo Group promote your unique, spiritual, or holistic business today. Call Angie at 814-312-8876 and mention my show for a discount. Until next time, this is Jennifer Gehl, wishing all of you the highest harmony in your life and in your world. Bye for now.
Tune in each Wednesday at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Time to Cosmic Harmony with Jennifer Gehl on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, where we chart your course for an inspired life. If you'd like to have your chart discussed on the show and listen to planetary blends unique to your signature, please email cosmicharmonyradio@gmail.com. For more information on Jennifer's work and her new book with Dr. Mark McCosey, The Science of Planetary Signatures in Medicine, visit soundworksbygehl.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.